Here's the choice we have. We have a choice to make this hard or to do what's required to make it easy. We have a choice to be in fear and upset and awfulizing and anger, or a choice to get grounded and centered.
You're listening to the Mindful Mama Podcast, episode 215. Today, we're talking about fearing not with Iyanla Vanzant. Welcome to the Mindful Mama Podcast. Here, it's about becoming a less irritable, more joyful parent. At Mindful Mama, we know that you cannot give what you do not have. And when you have calm and peace within, then you can give it to your children. I'm your host, Hunter Clark-Field's Mindful Mama Mentor. I help smart, thoughtful parents stay calm so they can have strong, connected relationships with their children. I've been practicing mindfulness for over 20 years. I'm the creator of the Mindful Parenting Membership, and I'm the author of Raising Good Humans, a mindful guide to breaking the cycle of reactive parenting and raising kind, confident kids. Welcome, dear listener. So glad to be in your ears. These are strange times we're living in, and I'm so glad to be connecting with you. And I know that this podcast, this episode, is really going to be incredibly helpful in these challenging times with the coronavirus pandemic happening. In just a moment, I'm going to be sitting down with Iyanla Vanzant, host and executive producer of the OWN Network's award-winning series, Iyanla Fix My Life. Her body of work spans over 3 decades and includes 18 published books, 6 New York Times bestsellers, CDs, television, radio, and stage performances. And her most recent book is Get Over It, Thought Therapy for Healing the Hard Stuff. And this episode is going to be very helpful for you, I think, as this was so helpful for me. I mean, many of us are really living with lots of anxiety during this life, the disruptions of the COVID-19 pandemic. But some of that fear is healthy and some of it isn't. It's really smart for us to stay home, to wash our hands a lot, and to boost our immune system. But what about when the fear leads us to obsess and not to sleep and to be trapped in anxiety? So I invited Iyanla back onto the podcast to talk about how to take care of fear. And I want you to listen for some important takeaways, how ego wants to separate us and make us feel alone in our heads, but how we can choose to experience this time from a place of fear or a place of power, right? Like this is within our power. And that how interconnected we are and how important your self-care matters. This is a very, very important conversation, I think, and one that you are going to appreciate and maybe listen to again and again. I hope you do. I think it'll help all of us. Before we dive in, I just want to let you know that I am opening up spots in my group coaching program. And I've got to be honest, it was, it's an interesting time. And I was thinking that maybe I shouldn't open up this group coaching program. But I was with my group today that are currently in the Mindful Mama Transformation Coaching Group, and that just them telling me how valuable this is, how all the work that we'd done so far felt like for them, that it was helping them, it was taking them to this point, and it's all helping them weather this with more resiliency and more peace and able to handle their children's feelings better and their partners, etc. So I am opening up my next group. And this is a high-level group coaching program, small group, 6 women or less. And we will be starting soon. And so if you are interested in getting this deeper level of support, then I invite you to check it out. It's at mindfulmamamentor.com/group coaching. You can learn about it, and you can just email me and we can talk about it too. And you can do that by emailing me at hunter@mindfulmamamentor.com. So I know you're going to love this episode. So join me at the table as I talk to Iyanla Vanzant. Iyanla, thanks so much for coming back on the Mindful Mama podcast.
I'm happy to be here for all the mamas and the babies.
I'm happy you're here too. And we're talking obviously post coronavirus pandemic, and the world's kind of shut down right now. And I really appreciate the message that you've been giving all week about to fear not. And so I thought it would be great to talk about fear, and we're going to talk a little bit about healthy and unhealthy fears. But can you tell us a little bit about this message of fear not, and kind of what you're seeing from the people you're talking to in what's out there right now?
Well, I think people are awfulizing. I mean, there's a real challenge. I call it a challenge, not even a threat. I call it a challenge. Um, and this has disrupted our norm. And as human beings, the number one addiction for all human beings is control. And
Mm,
every time we lose control, or we don't have control, or we can't get control, the organic response is fear. So because we can't control this thing, we don't know when it's coming, how it's coming, where it's coming. We can't get tested. We don't know. So fear is a natural response. Now, when you look at the meaning of fear, fear is the organic or the internal response, the mental, emotional response to a threat of harm or danger. So clearly, the virus poses a threat of harm or danger to us. So, and it alerts you, healthy fear. It alerts you, okay, I need to do something. So what do we need to do? We need to stay home. We need to stay
mhm,
away from people. We need to wash our hands. I also think that from the physical perspective, we need to boost our immune system. We need
mhm,
to eat better. And we need to find ways to occupy ourselves in the slow motion that we've been put in, because we're so used to being busy and running and all the time. Now, healthy fear becomes unhealthy when you obsess about it or awfulize, meaning the threat isn't here, but you tell yourself, oh, the threat is coming, or if the threat happens, this will happen, and then that'll happen. Like if I get the virus and I'm going to be sick and I don't have health insurance, or I can't get to the hospital, and nobody's going to feed my kids, and I can't pay my rent, and blah, 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 and I'm going to end up in a tent in the park eating with the squirrels.
mhm. That
So
downward
it
spiral.
becomes unhealthy when we obsess and awfulize about it, as opposed to taking action to address the concerns of a healthy fear. And I think most people are awfulizing, and therefore the fear has become unhealthy. So when I say fear not, I'm saying not that you won't have a fear-based response, but there are things that you can do about it so it doesn't become unhealthy.
Yeah, I think that, and you and I are in a program working on to help people train our minds, like through mindfulness, and to train our bodies and souls. And I think that we're seeing a lot of the untrained mind, the kind of like the way our minds, or as a society kind of collectively, have been trained to be distracted, to not be present all the time. And so this sort of untrained mind, what happens is, and this is not really our fault, this is just something that happens, is just that we get this feeling of the fear, and we then just follow down that rabbit hole. We don't know how to interrupt the thoughts. The one thought leads us to a feeling, which leads to another thought, and it is that downward spiral, and we don't know how to interrupt that when we're not taking time to train our minds, and to recognize that this is unhealthy right now. Like when I look around me in my immediate environment, none of this stuff I'm thinking about is actually happening right here in this present moment.
And then the ego will want to fight you. And the ego, yeah, but it's out there and you don't know who has it. And suppose you touch somebody who's
Mm.
positive, and this will happen. And if you get positive, and I call it being alone in your head without adult supervision.
I love that.
And the mind will just run amok if you don't stop it. And one of the easiest ways, we know this, to calm the mind is breath. So I've been teaching people all week how to breathe. People know how to inhale and exhale and take little sips of air in their nose or their mouth, but really to breathe in a way, we call it anchoring in the breath. Breathe in a way that slows the mind down. And also to use your eyes, because if you focus your eyes on a particular spot, that will engage the mind. And then if
Mhm.
you begin to breathe slowly, consciously, and you pace your breathing, it'll bring the mind to a focal point. The mind is like an untrained puppy. So if you don't focus it, if you don't train it, it will hump company's leg and it'll pee on the carpet. So you have to train the puppy.
Yeah, totally. And what you're saying, like about focusing the eyes, and I want to kind of go back and ask you a question about what you just said, but focusing the eyes, I think, is so important when and inviting, and I really want to add to that, like that we want to actually see.
Yeah.
We look around us. Like if I go out into my yard, which I'm feel very blessed and lucky to have right now, I go into my yard and I look at a tree. I look right past it normally. I don't see it. I look at the crocuses coming up, and often these I'm seeing because they're new, but it's you. What is in your invitation is this this invitation to really see what's in front of you. Like, oh, this tree is this other alive being, a plant that's giving carbon, you're giving oxygen for me to breathe and things like that. So to actually really see what's in front of us and not just look past it, to be really present with it. And so you said ego wants to fight you. So can you define like what ego is a little bit in the way you understand it and
The
what you mean by that?
the way I understand ego, it's an aspect of our consciousness, of our mind, that believes that we are separate from everything, including the creator. That you're over there, I'm over here, that my body is a separate container, my experience is a separate experience. And so the ego believes in separation and therefore relies on its devices and its experience and its awareness to dictate how you should respond, when you should respond, when the truth is you're so much bigger than we are, so much bigger than just what is contained in this physical being. Like you said, we'll go outside, we'll see a tree, we'll look past the tree. And the ego does that because it says, just be concerned about me right now. Look for the rocks, you might fall over, or there's a worm. So what the ego does is it promotes and it creates separation. But there's a deeper, more divine and meaningful part of us that understands our oneness and our connection to everything. I remember when I started training on my spiritual journey many, many years ago, well, something that one of my teachers said to me that I never forgot. He said, the air you breathe today will exhale today will be in China tomorrow, or Italy, or Spain, or Bulgaria, or Alaska. He said, so everything that you take in from the environment and everything you give out to the environment, you want to do it with a place of consciousness. So one of the reasons fear is so prevalent today is because there's so much of it.
Mm.
Whether you listen to the news, or you're listening to people, or you're telling your own, fictional story in your mind. And then we say, I'm in this alone.
Mm.
You don't have to worry about what I am. I'm sure that the people who've lost their jobs, or have been laid off or furloughed really think that they're in this alone. Well, I lost my job. I work in television and nobody is filming anything. And I don't do the kind of show, it's not news, so I can't do it every day. So I'm unemployed too. But people will think, oh, she's on television and she's wealthy and she's that. No, I trained myself. I was in Michael's buying coloring pencils and I really wanted the Prisma pencils, but they were $24.99.
They're the best ones though.
I went to the sale box and got those $3 pencils.
Not going to be as good.
Brought them home. I got to wait till I get back to work to buy the Prismas.
I'll have to send them to you as a gift.
I wanted those 48 colors bad.
The artist in me is like, no, go for the Prisma colors. I get you though. I get you.
So the mere fact that, people wouldn't think that, they would think I'm a separate being and my experiences. No, we're in this together. And while we're each experiencing it where we are, the way we are, I see it as togetherness, whereas the ego would see it as separateness. Your ego will tell you, go ahead and be afraid. The fusa is coming through the window and you got to hide under the bed. And you're not thinking, wow, I'm breathing that out into the universe and it's going to hit Hunter or Iyanla in a couple of hours.
Stay tuned for more Mindful Mama podcast right after this break. This episode is sponsored by the Dalai Lama's new children's book, The Seed of Compassion. There has never been a more important time to show compassion. Oh my goodness. And in his first picture book for children, The Seed of Compassion, Nobel Peace Prize laureate His Holiness the Dalai Lama addresses children directly. With simple, powerful text and vibrant illustrations by debut talent Bao Liu, The Seed of Compassion offers guidance and encouragement on how we all might bring more kindness to our world and shows how, like a seed, with time and care, it might grow into something bigger than we ever could have imagined. In The Seed of Compassion, His Holiness the Dalai Lama inspires young readers to create a world that embraces all of humanity with an open heart through stories from his youth in Texter to lessons he learned in his training as a Buddhist monk, giving readers a glimpse into his journey from a sometimes naughty child to an internationally recognized spiritual leader. His Holiness encourages children and families to nurture the seed of compassion that lives within them. We cannot change the past, but the future we can change, His Holiness explains in the book. And children already have the tools needed to build a happier world, a better world, a compassionate world. Celebrate the inspiring message behind The Seed of Compassion and share how you're changing the world through kindness using hashtag The Seed of Compassion. Order your copy of The Seed of Compassion today.
Go ahead.
I love what you're talking about. And I think that the pandemic is really showing us our sense of our interconnection. Like we kind of, I think, went through the world thinking, yeah, we're in our own little space and yeah, we're connected, etc., via the internet or whatever. But it really is a huge illustration of how thoroughly interconnected we are. And we always have been, but this is really, really, really showing it to us. And we can take that and take this, what you're saying, like this deeper message from this. We are interconnected. We are not alone. That sense of ego is like, just trying to keep you safe, just trying to keep you alive. It's that survival thing. But that sense of, oh, we are interconnected. And you're right. Like even I think about like the water I drink at some point was some dinosaur's pee or whatever, right?
Or toilet.
Yeah. Or even the cells in our body, like literally every single thing on this earth and in our atmosphere has been here for 4 billion years. Yeah. So literally the cells that went through the bodies of Jesus and the Buddha and all the great figures in life are still with us.
Let's not whitewash it. Jeffrey Dahmer and Sam, Son of Sam and all of that.
Yes,
the
yes.
thing is, how do we react to it? Mm-hmm. How do we respond to it? And when we are moving from the ego-based place of separation and littleness, we will respond to for example, there are people with the coronavirus right now. So that means I have it too. I may not have the symptoms. I may not have I may not be in the hospital. My life may not be threatened. But if anybody is experiencing it, we're all experiencing it. Now we get to choose if we're going to experience it from a place of fear or from a place of power. This is in my meditation yesterday. I got this message and it was so enlightening to me. It said, I was meditating. It said, don't sleep on the fact or dismiss the fact that the virus is attacking the capacity to breathe. Because breathing is not just physical, it's spiritual. People are protecting their physical self, and ignoring their spiritual self. I said, oh my goodness, look at that.
Mm.
Breathing that's our connection to life. You stop breathing, you're not here. Breath is our connection to the creator, to source, to God, whatever you want to call it. And this virus is attacking our capacity to breathe. So for me, it's almost like a metaphor of how are we being? What are we doing that is diminishing our spiritual identity? You know, they're
Mhm.
talking about giving us money so we can stimulate the economy. They need to give us some prayer so we can stimulate our spirit.
Yeah, well, I mean, this whole thing about interconnection also points to this like responsibility, right? Like I like to say that our self-care is not selfish, it's our responsibility.
Absolutely.
And and beyond self-care, but like the attitude you're inviting in, you're practicing in your mind and your heart, like what you're saying is that what we practice as far as what thinking, feeling, as we practice this peace in yourself really does create peace. More peace for you creates more peace for all of us, and it's a responsibility, a spiritual responsibility to everyone to practice to raise yourself up.
There's a wonderful book called The Sacred Yes by Reverend Deborah L. Johnson that she received and through meditation and prayer, almost like a channeled work. And what I read in there this morning in The Sacred Yes was, what is this thing you call peace that you keep talking about, peace on earth, as if it's going to rain down on you from the sun or the moon or the clouds? Peace is a function of what's in your heart. And the only thing that you are experiencing at any time in your life is what you have been harboring in your heart. So when we look at this virus, we have to look at individually and collectively, what have we been harboring in our heart that is now attacking us? And if you look at our society over the past 5, 6 years, all of the anonymous attacks on the social media, where people have no accountability, they can say whatever they want to say to whomever and then change their email address. All of the divisiveness and separation that has been promoted and pumped into the airways with these mega billions of light waves, that then created all this againstness. You got this political team, that political team, this gender, just so much againstness. We've been attacking each other verbally, psychologically, emotionally, just for the past, I'd say really intensified over the past 5 or 6 years. And it's just coming back on us. And that's the connectedness. That's the law of cause and effect, the law of correspondence. A couple of years ago, everybody was all up in arms about The Secret. Well, have they forgotten what they read in The Secret? Because this is exactly what The Secret talked about, how what you put out comes back. So yes, it's attacking our physical self. But I believe that we can allay fear, and we can experience peace, and that we can facilitate healing as we as individuals, understanding our responsibility to the collective, clean ourselves up
Mhm.
mentally, emotionally, and physically.
Yeah, and it's interesting, if I think about the last 5 years and the divisiveness that's been there, I think that really does come from fear, right? It really does come from people feeling insecure, feeling fearful, the world being very, a lot of upheaval and a lot of change. So this is obviously this incredible problem. So what are some ways we can take action, because it's difficult, right? Many of us can't even leave an apartment, or we're not connecting with others. We have this sense of anxiety, which is natural, right? Natural response of the the nervous system, and it sets us up for action, and we want to take action, and many of us are used to kind of taking actions, like getting things done, doing all these things, but now we're required, for the sake of everyone. And we're all doing this great act together of staying home, right? Which is kind of a non-action. So as we're in this place, what are some of the things that we can do to help take care of our fear, to not to not let it drive us to these bad ends or these difficult means.
Let me just say this, I will answer that question, but you know what? This has been going on. You know how many people haven't been able to leave their homes?
Yeah.
Do we only think about feeding them now because of the virus?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know how many people isolate in their homes and disconnect? We have a huge mental health issue in this country that we don't deal with. There's nothing going on now with the virus that hasn't been going on. It's just that we are now more aware of it. So we get to determine our response to it, you know? I'll tell you the most horrifying thing of this entire virus, because I decided first of all, I didn't even know what was going on because I didn't watch the news. I didn't know it. I don't watch the news. So I was looking on my homepage, and what is the coronavirus? But by then, they had like 500 cases in Seattle. I didn't even know what was going on. So anyway, so therefore, I have a completely different response to it. But the most horrifying thing for me in this whole thing was the 360,000 children who depend on breakfast and lunch at school. That horrified me.
Mm-hmm.
It was going on and I didn't even know about that our children don't have food. That don't have nothing to do with the coronavirus when we got 600 million acres of land dedicated to a golf course.
Oh, we have so much wealth in this country and there's no social safety net. It is infuriating to me all the time. We have everyone doesn't have healthcare. We have no social safety net at all. We have so much wealth and no social. I mean, I don't get political on this podcast very much, but you're right. Like, it makes me so angry. And that's one of the big things that leads people to feel so insecure.
Right. So anyway, what can we do to take better care of ourselves? I'm going to say it again. Breathe. You've got to learn how to breathe. And there are some wonderful videos on YouTube with 12 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 40 minutes that you can go and look up conscious breath work, because people think they're breathing when they're really just sucking air.
Well, let's do it right now. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I did a white light meditation that I've been circulating. So I invite your listeners, they can go to Iyanla.com and sign up for my mailing list. Just put white light meditation in your subject line and we'll send it out to you. Or there's a link on my Facebook page for the white light meditation. But one of the things is, you have to have a posture to breathe. And the biggest thing is that your spine is erect so that your lungs are clear and your diaphragm is open. So and one of the ways you can do that is just sit. I tell people, roll your butt back so that you're sitting really on your sits bone. And
sorry to interrupt, but I think of it like, we got this tailbone, right? Like, I always think like as if you could wag your little tailbone behind you.
Right. And then right at the base of your skull, make believe there's a string. And if there's a string, gently, not just gently pull it up. Pull the string so that your neck and your spine is erect. And then make believe there are weights in your elbows that pull your shoulders down. Just relax the shoulders. And I always say to people, relax the belly. I don't know why when we're sitting, we think holding in our belly, people won't know we have one. You have one. And if it's laying in your lap, that's okay. Yeah. And then the greatest discovery I made is that people breathe backwards. They think on the inhale, they need to suck the belly in, and on the exhale, it goes out. When breathing is the exact opposite. On the inhale, the diaphragm in the belly expands, and on the exhale, it contracts. Now, don't think about it. Relax the shoulders, relax the belly, and on the inhale, just expand the belly, and on the exhale, just let it relax. You can either close your eyelids or Focus your eyes downward as if you're staring at your tip of your nose. Because I know a lot of people have problems going within. It's frightening in there. They're saying stay home, but breath will help you come home. And just expand the belly on the inhale and deflate the belly on the exhale. If you do that a couple of times consciously, the body will begin to breathe itself. Inhale and expand. Don't push, don't effort. And exhale and just let it deflate. Inhale and expand. Pushing the diaphragm out, and exhale and deflate. So for those who aren't really conscious breathers, I would say work with that. If you can do 3 minutes of just conscious breathing, and if you need the guidance, again, there are a lot of beautiful videos on YouTube, guided conscious breathing meditations. Gay Hendricks has a wonderful one, Gay Hendricks, Hendricks. Beautiful one. So learning how to breathe is critical to just maintaining calm and peace.
Stay tuned for more Mindful Mama podcast right after this break. We are supported by CauseBox. I just discovered my new favorite subscription. It's called CauseBox, and I need to tell you about it. CauseBox is a quarterly, 4 times a year subscription box curated by women for women that is filled with all sorts of amazing products and brands that are ethical, sustainable, and have a positive mission to give back and make the world better. Every CauseBox is limited edition and comes with 6 to 8 full-size products. You can get everything from skincare to jewelry to homewares and accessories. The last 4 boxes sold out within days, which I can believe because you get over $250 worth of products for only $50. I got my own sample box, and here's just a few of my favorite things that were in it. There was this adorable little bento box for lunch that I'm so excited for my kids to use when they go back to school. There's a jade roller for your skin. There were these beautiful earrings. I gave some to my daughter and kept some for myself. There were 3 pairs of studs in all, a notebook case, awesome duffel that I've already used and love, and some very luxe skincare. One of the best parts was just getting the CauseBox in the mail. They ship it to you for free and opening it. And I felt like I got myself a huge surprise bundle of gifts. Now that we cannot go shopping, this feels so good and so right. And especially since it is supporting all these ethical, sustainable products. I'd get this for myself. I'd get this for my mom. It really is my new favorite subscription. The best part is, of course, that I got my listeners an exclusive discount. Go to www.causebox.com/mindfulmama and use the code mindfulmama to get your first box for 30% off, as in you can get your first box worth of over $250 worth of stuff for less than $39. Go check out CauseBox right now. It's causebox.com/mindfulmama using the code mindfulmama. And I can tell you firsthand that you're going to love it. And how often would you suggest that people who are not used to this bring a kind of practice like this into their days?
I do it as soon as my eyes open in the morning. I start connecting to my breath consciously. And then whenever I feel myself tensing, tightening throughout the day, I go back to it. I also try to do 3 minutes before I eat. So whenever I sit down to eat, I stop and take that 2-3 minutes to just do conscious breathing, wake up all the cells in my body so that as I take in the nourishment and the nutrients, my body, I'm not just feeding my belly, I'm feeding my feet, my legs, everything, And then I do it again before I go to bed. So if you could do it 3 to 5 minutes, just conscious breathing, 2-3 times a day, or whenever you get tense, just stop. And if you don't have time to, do all of that, just a long, deep inhale and
Oh, I love sigh breaths.
Yes, sigh breath is wonderful. And what people don't know is that sound, that is the most sacred sound on the universe. Ah, and om. But we don't usually say om. We do say oh, yeah, but is the first sound given to the name of the divine. Whether in the most ancient days it was pa, ta, or amen, or bu, ta, Jeho,
yeah.
Messiah.
Yeah.
Ah is the most sacred sound given to the name of the divine. So if you can just inhale and you're bringing yourself into connection and alignment with the divine, whatever you call it. So that will help you. And isn't it interesting that sometimes when we get frustrated or upset, we say, oh boy.
Well, there's some good research also behind what you're saying. You're saying, it's connection with the divine, but they've done research on the sigh breath and it literally changes your brain chemistry. You could do 5 or 6 sigh breaths and you're really getting yourself out of fight, flight, or freeze and into that rest and relax response. So yeah,
So
absolutely.
that is one thing. The other thing I say is water. Drinking water feeds the cells. As you drink your water out of your mason jar. We are comprised of atoms, molecules, cells. Then you got your veins, you've got your bones, you've got your bone marrow. Everything functions in water. And sometimes we get mentally, emotionally, spiritually constipated because we don't flush, we don't drink enough water. So whereas breathing will oxygenate the blood, water keeps it flowing and moving. So we want to really, while we're home, we want to really increase or solidify, not stabilize our water intake. Just drink a lot of water. I personally think you also need to be in the water. So bathing, we've gotten so busy showering, because we got to get out fast. But let me tell you something, a 20-minute bath, a 20-minute soak in Epsom salt or even sea salt, table salt. You don't have that, apple cider vinegar, or just some warm water. A 20-minute soak 2 to 3 times a week will change your life. It'll change your life. I say Epsom salt because it removes the toxins from the dermis layer of the skin, the environmental toxins, which are at the root of this virus right now. So even if we're not touching, you're going outside, you're breathing air, you want to open your pores, you want to cleanse them. Epsom salts will do that. So will apple cider vinegar. So if we're, go ahead.
So I can hear my listener objecting in my ear because many are, they're working from home now. They got their kids at home. They got little kids running around. I got someone in my community who has 4-year-old triplets. Oy vey, right? So what do you say to the person who's is freaking out because they're like, I don't have time to take a 20-minute bath
when the children go to sleep?
Yeah.
Why can't you do it then?
That's a great idea.
With the children, when they're napping. When they go to nap, you go get in the tub. Or when you put them to sleep. If they're on a schedule, which I'm sure triplets are on a schedule, when you start getting them ready for bed, start running your bath. Yeah. Time, again, as you said earlier, self-care is a responsibility because we each want to come to the playing field of life as healthy and whole as possible. So if you don't have time in your life for a bath, then your life is really jacked up. I'm sorry.
Leave the dishes. Instead of going to do the dishes.
Imagine we wash the dishes and won't sit in the tub. Oh my Lord. Okay.
Get some paper plates, throw your paper plates away or compost them and then go sit in the tub.
Paper plates, eternal flatware.
They are one with everything as we are.
Yeah. Kind that are you can compost them. So yeah. So self-care, your breath, your bath, your water intake, limit your sugar intake. I'm a prayer warrior, so I pray. I find that prayer
Mhm.
is my communion with the Creator, with the universe. I am a prayer warrior. I don't start my day without prayer. Before my feet hit the ground, I'm praying. And we have a meditative practice, our mindfulness practice, where we're connecting with breath, we're scanning the body, we're minding our thoughts. So just find something that connects you to your internal landscape, because this world is drawing you out. And I say, if we strengthen our minds, if we strengthen our hearts, if we fortify our spirit, it supports the physical body in its vulnerability to whatever this physical condition is.
Yeah, yeah, and I think about prayer, and I think that's so important, right? Like, let me focus my attention on what I'm appreciating, or et cetera. And I think for me, I'm not a praying person, but I think of the loving kindness meditation, right? That's what comes to mind for a parallel for me. Like, yes, like during this time, I have been touching my hand to my heart and saying, "May I be safe. May I be happy. May I be healthy. May I live with ease." And as that's not a selfish thing at all, as you wish that for yourself, it helps all of us, and we can extend that to all of us. May you be safe, may you be happy, may you be healthy, may you live with ease. As we change our orientation from fear into, like what you said, we're choosing to experience this from fear or power. This is a place of, like, grounded power, right? Like, I know where what I have the capability to control, and I can't control a lot. I don't have a lot of control over much. Even my children, you think about that. I don't I can, they make their own choices, but I can control how I respond. I can control the temperature and the orientation of my heart and mind right now. And that's really where we have to focus. And that's hard for people who are really outwardly oriented to action and to-do lists and checking and driving here and driving there. This is hard, and it's okay. It's okay that it's hard, but it's doable. It can be learned with practice, with intention.
Well, I hear you. I stand on that step with you. I don't think in terms of control. I think in terms of dominion. It's
Mm.
a higher vibration. I have no control over anything.
Mm.
I could be out of this body and off into spirit land in 30 seconds from now. I can't control that.
That's
I
true.
can't, at my age, I can barely control my bladder. So you should see me running sometime. Okay. But I do have dominion, which is a higher vibration, saying the same thing, and I hear you say it's hard. I'm going to say it need not be easy, and it is doable.
Mm.
Again, I'm just being very mindful and conscious of every single thing that I feed into this cellular, atomic, molecular structure I call my being. No, it need not be easy, but it is doable. Okay. So yeah, but listen, Hunter, we don't have a choice.
Yeah.
Here's the choice we have. We have a choice to make this hard or to do what's required to make it easy. We have a choice to, be in fear and upset and awfulizing and anger, or a choice to get grounded and centered. Back in 2016, and I've been really disobedient this week and in resistance, because one day in my meditation, I was told to share a story, and I've been really resistant about sharing it because of the way the story is for me. But back in 2016, my colon ruptured. I didn't know that I had diverticulitis, which is where you get pockets and narrowing in the colon. And basically it's due to stress. It's either due to diet or stress. My diet is pretty solid, but I do a lot. I'm a Virgo, so I'm neurotic and hysterical most of the time. And that's why I had to learn how to breathe and meditate and pray, because I just move a lot of energy. I move a lot of energy. So anyway, my colon ruptured. And the reason I'm not dead, literally, because all of those toxins would have went into my bloodstream, is that somehow, some way, I have the medical report right here. I could show you. Dr. Oz has seen it. My left ovary lodged itself in my colon to plug the hole so that the toxins did not seep into my system.
Oh my gosh.
And they asked me, do you know how that happened? I said, I didn't even know it was happening. They cannot figure out how my left ovary plugged the hole in my colon. So what does that tell me? It tells me that there's something greater than I can see, know, or understand going on. It was not my time. It was not my time.
Mm-hmm.
And then the ovary absorbed all the toxins. 2 quarts of fluid was taken out of my ovary. They don't know how that happened. And the reason I got sick was because the ovary was becoming overwhelmed and the toxins were starting to seep into my bloodstream, but it did it in such a way that I got to the hospital in time to get antibiotics. But they had to take out 9.5 inches of my colon.
Wow.
And for 90 days, I had to wear what they call a colostomy bag,
Ugh, yuck.
which means my colon is open and everything I put in is going into that bag.
Yeah.
And when I woke up from the surgery and they told me what was going on, I immediately went into, oh my God, I can't do that. I'm a Virgo. I cannot sit around looking at shit all day.
Oh.
That's how it came into my mind.
I imagine that might be how I would be thinking about it too.
Yep. And it wasn't, oh my God, I'm going to be defecating in the bag and I'm going to be, but that's exactly how it came into my mind. And then the next thought was, oh, you're going to see some And so for 90 days, I got to really see my I got to get clear about what went in and what came out. What I was holding on to and what I needed to let go. 90 days, every day, I had to change that bag. But let me tell you something. It was the most powerful, empowering, healing experience of my life. And I think that this stay at home, take care of yourself, be with yourself, look at yourself. You're going to see some about you. Okay? You're going to see how impatient you are. You're going to see how aggressive you are. You're going to see how unkind and unloving you can be to yourself and everybody. You're going to see how attached you are to the world and to things and to people. You're going to see all of the fictional documentaries that you've been telling yourself about who you are and or you're going to see some in the next few weeks that we're going to be here. And I think it is good because I think when we emerge, we are going to be so different. Have you read the poem by Kitty? I think her name is Kitty O'Meara about "And the People Stayed Home."
Oh, no.
And they said, I'll send it to you so that you can post it for your listeners. But she said, and the people stayed home. And some read and some danced and some did art projects and some prayed and some meditated and they healed. And when they were able to unite again and discuss their losses and console and comfort one another, they brought a whole new energy to the planet. I'm going to send it to you.
Oh, I got it, Iyanla. I found it. Okay. I found it. I'll read it.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And it speaks to what we're going through.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
And the people stayed home and read books and listened and rested and exercised and made art and played games and learned new ways of being and were still and listened more deeply. Some meditated, some prayed, some danced. Some met their shadows, and the people began to think differently. And the people healed. And in the absence of people living in ignorant, dangerous, mindless, and heartless ways, the earth began to heal. When the danger passed, and when the danger passed, and the people joined together again, they grieved their losses and made new choices and dreamed new images and created new ways to live and heal the earth fully as they had been healed. Oh,
Is that not divine?
I have goosebumps all over my legs and my
Those
arms
are
right now.
Those are our instructions, and that's what I've been telling people all week. These are the instructions. Read and dance and make art and listen more deeply and have conversations and love on the children and let them play in your hair and look at yourself. Look at yourself and see the things that you've been denying and avoiding and resisting and lying to yourself about, because there's been a lot of that going on. And connect in ways that you couldn't. I mean, we don't go to the mall anymore. The malls are closing. We do everything online. We use Uber Eats and Instacart and all of that anyway. Why are we so freaked out now? Because we're being told to do it. Okay. But use your Zoom to call grandma. You can talk to her on the phone. Use FaceTime. And yes, talk about the family stories. Who is crazy old Uncle Joe? And how did we all get blonde hair? And where, what does it mean to live in this place or that place or the other? Listen and talk so that when we come back together, we are thinking differently and being differently. There is nothing to fear. Everything must change. And we're changing. And I think it's absolutely necessary. I think it's purposeful. I think it's divine. And I'm not afraid of it. Not at all.
Yay. Iyanla, thank you so, so much
Thank
for
you.
coming back on the Mindful Mama podcast. I appreciate your voice and your words and your heart, and I love your laugh. So thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me. And to all the mamas out there, this too shall pass. Stay in peace, not in pieces.
Hey, thank you so much for listening. I love what Iyanla says about we can experience this from fear or from power. And I love this the empowering voice that she gives us. And I love her laugh. So, so fun. Hey, I want to thank you, Jan D. RYB, for the 5-star review in Apple Podcast. She says, Hunter, thank you for helping me to increase my ability to be calm and mindful. This is such a wonderful podcast. You're welcome, Jan. Thank you. I really appreciate it. And thank you so much for Amy Lee Wee, who said it was the best mama podcast. Yay. I appreciate your words so much. If you would like to support the podcast, leaving a wonderful Apple Podcast review is always a great way to do it. And who knows, I would love to give you a shout out on the air. If you would like more support during this time, I am opening up my group, my Mindful Mama Transformation Coaching Group. I am not doing the free Unmartyr Yourself Challenge anymore. And this group, we are going to dive right in, the coaching group. And it's a high-level group coaching for people who are serious about wanting to make change and ready to invest their energy and time into doing that work. And so I get to hang with you for 5 months and have the honor of walking with you through some deep and powerful work. So if you would like to learn more about the group coaching, go to mindfulmamamentor.com/group coaching, or just send me an email and we can chat about it. There are still some spots. And I'm wishing you a great week, my friend. I hope that you have some peace. You have some joy. Hope you remember to laugh. Go watch some puppies and kittens videos. I'll be there with you. Don't make yourself wrong for having all the feelings. This is a different time. We're allowed to have all these feelings. We're allowed to have them anyway, even if there isn't a pandemic. So you're certainly allowed to have them now. Don't make yourself wrong for that. Offer yourself some grace. We have to offer each other that. Cultivate that compassion. And as you do, you know, it helps in every single way. Anyway, I'm thinking about you, and I'm hoping that you are not suffering too much. If you're a healthcare worker, I am so sending you gratitude and thanks. Thank you. I'm wishing you well and safety. And I'm wishing all of us safety as we move through this time. Let us keep our feet on the ground. Let us remember to practice to be calm and to practice that calm as much as we can. And that will help all of us. Okay. Take care, my friend. See you next week. Namaste.